Shalom. First and foremost, I want to give our praise, glory, and honor to Yahweh, by Hashem Yahushai, by Hashem Rakakwadash, divine to the apostle and elder of the great millstone, and to all the across the globe, put in the word of truth and sincerity. We want to say Shalom. 1 Corinthians 7:31. And they that use this world is not abusing it, for the fashion of the world passes away. We have to guard ourselves being over righteous, um, being so cautious that we prevent ourselves from partaking things that may benefit us in this world. We're amongst wolves, man. We're amongst the indiscreet. All right, we're praying to get delivered from the present and evil world. But in this world, there are certain things that we can partake in. And don't get it confused that if you go to a bar, or go to Great America, or go bowling, or just living life to a degree, that there's nothing wrong with that. It's just not being entangled in this world, not being engulfed in the cares of this life. The Lord given us certain comforts and liberties that we're allowed to have, man. We're allowed to go out and grill and go fishing and go to baseball games and, do your MMA and boxing and, do your fishing and things like that. There's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with receiving benefits from Esau, so to speak, if they're available. These things are set in place for the elect to have a little pleasure, a little comfort, a little way to make ends meet. When it comes to dealing in society. But being engulfed in it, being so involved with the affairs of these entertainer life stories, these actors and the things. See, the Lord wants us to watch and pray. To look for these signs, not to be so much involved in carnal affairs. The Lord gives us a break from the rat race, from the commotion, from the stress of life, man, by giving us certain enjoyments, that we are able to partake in, man. But to put things before the Lord, is where things become unbalanced, and you tend to lean more to one side than the other, than remaining in the middle, man. This is a hellhole for us, man, and the Lord has provided us with outlets. And each brother has his own things. To talk about all men are pleasure in all things, but there's certain things that we all are able to do. Some brothers do arts and crafts, and some brothers play the instruments. And there's nothing wrong with that. But when you're putting that before the work, when you're putting the world, as we know it, before how about Shmi Al-Shai, then there lies your love, and we gotta be careful against that. He said, but I would have you, okay, that's good on that. I'm gonna get this, right, says, nigga use the world as not abusing, for the fashion of the world passes away. And we know that all these things are gonna come to an end. Because at the end of the day, it's all about serving the Lord. All right. Ecclesiastes 12:13, and it reads, let us hear the conclusion of the matter. So like, let us hear the conclusion of the whole matter. Fear the Most High and keep His commandments. This is the whole duty of man. See, that's our job. to understand what's going on in the world around us, or to not to be moved with the things that are going on around us, because we know the prophecy. We know this world has to go away. You know, the scriptures talk about how that was evil. Let's get that real quick. Second 4:29. It says, but concerning, we start at 28, but concerning the thing where thou asking me, I will tell thee, for the evil is sown, but the destruction thereof is not come. And therefore that which is sown be not turned upside down, and if the place where the evil is sown pass not away, then cannot it come that is sown with good. You know, so we have to endure. All right, we have to hold on, all right, to what we believe, to what we're doing, pushing this truth, increasing our faith, increasing our our strength, man. And how about me outside in these prophecies, man? All right, knowing that, you know, the times that we're living in are going to be cut short. All right, and we have to abide still, man. You know, until the Lord comes. He said, "Occupy till I come." You know, and to be occupied is doing His work. You know, yes, we have uh, a great calling to do. You know, we study, we research, we go into words, we go into history, we fellowship. You know, we do the work of an evangelist. You know, there's so much things that come with us being in the truth and following the Lord. All right, that yeah, we do have time for. You know, we do need time sometimes to just sit back and, you know, I'm outside and just to feel the wind and look at the birds and smell the flowers. You know, and this is what kind of resets our spirit. You know, going for a walk, seeing nature. There's nothing wrong with taking um, a break to refresh yourself sometime, man. You know, you just didn't not be caught up in the affairs of this world. You know, let's get back to that whole duty of man. Because Ecclesiastes 12:13 said, "Let us hear the conclusion of the whole matter, fear the Most High, and keep His commandments. But this is the whole duty of man." All right, so, you know, doing the work, man, understanding that if we don't do this work, if we're entangled in the world that we're living in, the life that we have, you know, we're gonna fall, man. You know, you see these guys who are interested in making debates and having big followings and big views and, you know, trying to be mainstream Israelites. But there's no fear of the Lord. Like, once you start to engulf yourself in the affairs of this world, you're no longer um, locked into the spirit, all right, of being aware of these laws, statutes, and commandments, and keeping these scriptures as frontlets upon your eyes, man. You know, our job here is to serve the Lord, do the work while we're here in America and while we're here with all these distractions and these temptations. You know, and this is something that requires balance, requires discipline to be able to uh, maneuver, all right, here in this world, man. It's not easy, you know. Sometimes you just got to take a break, you know, take a nap or, you know, go out to eat, you know, just reset yourself. But get back to business, man, because our job is to keep the commandments of Yahweh from outside, to teach and to do this work, you know. Um, 1 John 2:16, it says, John 2:15, it says, "Love not the world, neither the things that are in the world. If any man love the world, the love of the Father is not in him." You know, And it doesn't say that we can't do certain things for entertainment to to relieve ourselves sometimes, you know. But it's being engulfed, it's being um, uh, divulging into it so deeply that you forget to do your lessons. You're so busy with the cares of the world that um, you're not going to camp and you're not fellowshipping, you're not studying, you're not reading, you're not uh, 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 making your call and election sure. You know, trying to keep up with the fashion trends, trying to keep up with all the um, uh, uh, internet, the internet, social media madness. You see, so love not the world, neither the things that are in the world. If any man love the world, the love of the Father not in him. You know, you see the people who are loving this world, man. They're loving the publicity. They're loving the likes. You know, they're loving the keeping up with the Joneses. You know, for all that is in the world, the lust of the flesh, the lust of the eyes, and the pride of life is not of the Father, but of the world. You know, and we know that, you know, we're constantly bombarded with scantily clad women on these videos, and you know the desires of the flesh and wanting to be entertained with women, with uh, 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 having sex, you know, drinking, partying, you know, pleasing the flesh. You know, there's nothing wrong with giving. You know, the flesh does need a little pleasure at times, but it's all in balance. And the lust of the eyes, you know, wanting to buy the new shoes all the time and trying to get the newest car all the time, the newest house, and trying to move on to the next bigger and better thing. There's nothing wrong with that. You know, that's part of using the world, but it's in balance. You know, the scripture talking about food and raiment, therefore be with content. You know, the Lord has given us a certain amount of comfort in this world, all right, in His truth that we should be happy with. You know, that one bedroom studio, you know, that old beater with a heater, as they say in Cleveland. Be content with that. You know, you may not have what you want, but you have what you need because the Lord supplies, man. You've never seen the righteous forsaken or begging for bread, and we got to look back and be grateful for the things that the Lord has done with us and be happy with our lot. You know, some brothers allowed us to struggle a little bit more than others. You know, and that's the balance of the ministry. That's the balance of life. So, and the pride of life is not of the Father, but is of the world, man. In your and they do sit downs on the way home. They do sit downs on the way to camp. You know, they have side deals at camp. You know, our brothers constantly um in the word, man. You know, the scripture talk about what enmity with the world. James 4:4, and it reads, "Ye adulterers and adulteresses, know ye not that the friendship of the world is enmity with the Most High? Whosoever therefore will be a friend of the world is the enemy of the Most High," man. You know, the Lord is talking to us, man. The Lord is talking, you know, to all of us, you know, about being friends with the world. You know, being yoked together with company that is not uh, have their mind on the Lord, or not doing right, not acting right. You see, or you want to go to all your cousins' barbecues and all, you know. Sometimes you may need that, you know, but trying to be everywhere all the time and want to be pleasing your flesh all the time, but not of Yahweh Shemi Shai. We gotta be careful and mindful of being family Israelites, man. All right, you want to show up at all the banquets and things like that, man. A lot of times we just gotta refrain ourselves. Cause don't think that we're not being talked about when we come around and you got your beard and, you know, people want to talk about your appearance and they want to talk about your beliefs and they want to scoff the Lord and mock the brethren. All right, these people are enemies of Yahweh Shemi Shai. You know, whosoever therefore will be a friend of the world is the enemy of the Most High. You can't be a friend of the world. You can use the world, don't abuse it, man. All right. You know, we gotta be careful that the scripture talk about he that touches pitch shall be defiled therewith. You know, so if you're sitting around these 2/3, you're sitting around these non-believers. You're not sticking up for the Lord, and you know, you're not setting boundaries when it comes to others, man. You know, when it comes to these scriptures and this ministry, then maybe you have to examine yourself a little bit more. You know, are these people conducive to my growth? Are these people conducive to the furtherance of the ministry? And that's something that has to be looked at, man, when we're dealing. You know, Matthew 24:38. As in the days that were before the flood, they were eating and drinking, marrying and giving in marriage, until the day that Noah entered into the ark, and knew not until the flood came and took them all away. So shall also be the coming of the Son of Man be. You know, and these people are going to be eating and drinking, all right, being involved in the world, being involved in the cares of this life. You know, living their best life, just doing it. Do as I will spirit, that Bacchus spirit. All right, in the club over here, and you know, doing things that are that you know they don't have their mind on Yahweh Shemi Shai, man. When all this hell breaks loose, as we're starting to see these prophecies unfold quicker, heavier, all right, the mark of the beast in the system is ready, man. It's here. And people are ignoring the signs, they're ignoring the prophets, they're ignoring the token that the Lord has showed and revealed to the elders, man, and the brethren. All right, the Lord's gonna come as a thief in the night and take these motherfuckers away. You're gonna be you're gonna be you get that thief in the night. These people are not looking, they're not waiting. Into you. For yourselves know perfectly that the day of the Lord will come up as a thief in the night, man. You know, and we gotta be, you know, he said we're watching. ourselves, we're still watching, we're still praying. We're still observing the times, man. So get this. Sirach 18:27, wise man will fear in everything. In the day of sinning, he will beware of offense. But a fool will not observe the time, man. All right. So a lot of y'all gonna get caught up committing adultery. A lot of y'all gonna get caught up blaspheming, talking about the Lord, man. Not knowing that there's a prophet that's been sent among you, man. All right. So, Sirach 27:12, thou be among the indiscreet, observe the time, but be continually among men of understanding. And that's what we try to do. We try to be around the brethren. We try to be around the ministry, the fellowship, the brotherhood. All right. Even when we're with our wives and our family, our mind is still focused on doing this work. Iron sharpeneth iron in the chat. Scoff games. Asking what the breakdowns are, and constantly watching and praying and being diligent, man. That's what it's about. Not about having your life on his side, man. That's all I had, really. Not much. I've been thinking about this. One of them hit the buttons, So that one say shalom.